All right, so back in the car outside the gym again to do squats today. This is going to be a rep day. I think the weight is creeping up a little bit. This is the last week of phase 1 of this training program I'm working with. Maybe after I complete this phase, I'll try to put it into a nice, pretty spreadsheet and let you guys jump on it if you're interested. It basically runs about 3.5, 4 weeks-ish, depending on how you take your off days. And the plan is to have 3 phases for this complete program. So we'll see how it goes after this. And like I said, I'll sit down and kind of crunch some numbers, change some things from the original template that I had. But looking forward to doing some squats today, and that's about it. We'll get inside and let's do some work.
Alright, what you're watching here is my rep day from Friday, November 7th, 3 sets of 8 with 340 pounds. And you guys probably know from watching some of my videos, any squat video, I always talk about form and whatnot and ways to get better. And I've tried to give you some mental cues that have helped me, and I want to talk about one that I think has really helped me since coming back from this hip issue that was bothering me a couple of months ago, and I'm slowly building my capacity back up, and that is thinking about taking a dump. Yes, I know that's a little provocative title, but honestly, this is what's really helped me, and how I discovered this was a little bit of a fluke accident. So I was obviously going to take a dump one night, and many nights, as I do often, really doing some work, so to say, unfortunately not the type of work you can show on YouTube, and I noticed that when I squatted down to sit on a toilet, my form was really good. And I mean, I compare this to me just standing normally and trying to squat down deep. I found typically when I would do that for my warm-ups and when I was squatting in the past, one of the things I really focused on was pushing my knees out. And I think thinking about the knees so much really caused me to break at the knees first. However, when I went to take a dump, I found that my form was really good, but one of the big things that was different was I broke at the hips first and kind of sat back, and that's obviously something that's key. And if you guys have watched some of my squat tutorial videos, one of the things I like doing is putting a bench between people's leg and having them squat to that, especially new people to squatting, because having that there kind of as a safety to catch you or something to go to for depth, it really helps people in my opinion. And that's really what I'm thinking about here in these squats. So I get a tight core, then I'm thinking about pushing my butt back a little bit, and I found that this has helped tremendously. So if you're having some issues, try this out. Think of trying to sit back on a toilet, so to say, an imaginary toilet, but really make sure your mind is right, because I know some of us with those pre-workouts and Pop-Tarts, if you think too much about taking a poop while you're squatting, you might in fact be taking a poop, especially if you substitute in things like arginine or citrulline malate, things like that that might potentially upset your stomach. So after hitting those 3 sets of 8 with 340, it felt pretty good. The next move when I went to is front squats, and my goal today was to work up to a heavy triple, and that's one of the things that I'm going to try to do on whatever the rep day falls on here. So for this particular phase, 3 sets of 8 was the rep day, and then I'd always try to follow that up with a strength movement, only because the rest of the program is really based around strength and speed, and on those particular days, I follow up with assistance work with higher reps, but because we started out with higher reps here, I thought I should go ahead and throw in a strength movement just because it would really balance out the routine. So for this particular day, worked up to, again, a set of 3 at 315.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brandon again, inside the car, outside of work, and I'm leaving work today. As you guys can probably tell, this isn't my typical gym attire, and I don't usually make a lot of these videos after work. I try to keep those things separate, but in this case, I thought it might be relevant only because I wanted to talk about what I do when I go to the gym after work. So as many of you guys know, I live in Rhode Island. Some of you know exactly where, you fucking stalkers. But I do work in Massachusetts, and on Mondays, which today is, I actually work in one of our other offices, which is a little bit further away. So my typical drive is an hour. This drive to this office is about an hour and 20 minutes, depending on the traffic. So I'm leaving now to go to the gym, and as part of that, whenever I go to the gym after work, I always like to come a little bit prepared. So obviously I have a bag packed full of my typical gym equipment, but I also have my little pre-workout shake of peace and some Pop-Tarts. So pre-workouts and Pop-Tarts, as I think the shirt I'm wearing is going to imply anyways, but this is how I do it in most cases normally. And I like to do it this way just because it gives me some food, so I haven't eaten since lunch and it's the end of the work day. So rather than just go to the gym and train on a completely empty stomach, I do like some simple carbs beforehand. Pop-Tarts are usually my pre-workout carb of choice. And the pre-workout itself, again, Citadel Nutrition Tier 1, it has a little bit of caffeine, 200 milligrams, so not too much that's crazy, but enough that gives you some good energy, not to mention there's some synergistic effects with some of the other things that are within Tier 1. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna drive. You won't see me outside of the gym because that would be a little bit more redundant than this video already is, but you'll see me in the gym and maybe I'll wrap some stuff up afterwards. So we'll talk to you soon.
All right, again, to give you guys some clarification, the first clips you saw was from Friday, November 7th. These are from Monday, November 10th, so a couple of days in between. I actually had another overhead press and bodybuilding style workout that I did not film on Saturday, just because sometimes filming detracts from the work I'm trying to do. So this particular day is a speed day. We're doing 6 sets of 2 reps at 405 pounds. And again, if you remember my speed day from the other day, because we're using a very lighter percentage in terms of to my 1 rep max, what I try to do here is really get short rest intervals. So in this case, on average, it's about 30 to 40 seconds in between, and I just did 1 continuous shot here, again, 6 sets of 2. So for this, what I'll do is I'll look at my phone and just try to gauge where I am. And again, the reason I'm really trying to do this is to be as explosive as possible. And again, because the working percentage isn't overly heavy, I don't really feel like I need longer rest times. Now, when I do some of my strength training days or my rep days, I take a lot longer, in some cases anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes. And that's a question I get a lot of time on these workout videos, and that is, what are your rest times like? And to be honest, I don't have set rest times for the most part. This is something new I'm trying to work in. However, in most cases, I take as long as I need to feel ready without overdoing it, meaning I'm not going to take 20 minutes between sets because that's overkill. So as soon as I feel ready to go, in some cases it might be a minute, 2 minutes. In other cases, if we're doing like heavy singles or heavy doubles and deadlifts, for example, it might be 5 minutes in between. So like I said, on this day, only really doing 30 to 40 seconds. With this too, because we're not doing anything over 500 pounds and we're not doing really high rep work, I'm not wearing a belt for these particular sets. I'm also, in the first instances, I think the first 4 sets, I'm going double overhand. However, when we got to the 5th or 6th set, I went ahead and did use a mixed grip here, just really trying to get a fast pull. And obviously, by the 6th set, some of these are going to slow down a bit, but I was still pretty happy with how the weight was moving. This workout also marks the start of phase 2 of this program I'm trying to detail. I just finished wrapping up phase 1, which ended up being about 4 weeks in nature. What I'm going to do is I'm starting to put some of these things down, these finer points that I found out, into a spreadsheet, and I think I'll probably come out with an ebook that'll be available for free if anyone's interested, with just some of the methods of what I'm doing. But I'm going to hold off on releasing the first phase as of right now, only because as I do this each day and each week, I'll probably come back and make some slight tweaks. And that's what I really spent some time doing today as far as working on the first phase. I went back and looked at how things went and changed some of the things around based off my feelings throughout those first 4 weeks. Now in the second phase, it's still a similar layout where we're doing basically 4 days of training, really based around 4 main lifts, which again, of course, are deadlift, bench press, squat, and overhead press. And with that, we're cycling through days that are based around either speed, reps, or strength. So kind of alternating flip-flop. Again, a lot of this is influenced from things that I picked up that I really liked about Wendler 531, that I liked about the cube method, that I've picked up from other programs that I've both created myself and have done that others have created, and basically from other stuff that I watch from YouTubers that I pick up and that I like. So I'm really trying to cater this to me per se, yet still keep it simple that anyone could really pick it up and just do a lot of work. And I'm going to leave a lot of stuff open in terms of the assistance work, but pretty excited because I think this is going to be a pretty solid program, and I'm actually going to spend some time to come out with a thorough ebook that explains everything. So why I choose certain exercises, why I choose certain rest periods, what I think really helps, and giving you kind of the flexibility to input the own things that you like. That way you really never get sick of this routine, because I know that's something that I picked up from a lot of other routines is, hey, there's certain things I like and there's certain things I hate. There's certain things I wish I could change, but I don't want to stray too far from the routine. So all about this is really giving you some flexibility within your own training program while still having some basics there to make sure that you're progressing no matter what. So here you see the last actual set of 2 here, just getting ready, really trying to make sure I get my core tight and get as tight as possible, try to pull the slack out here, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do. So even though this is the 6th set, the weight does move fairly well. Now again, because we did some speed work here, we're doing lower reps in that case, I wanted to make sure I did get some rep work in as well. And one of my favorite assistance exercises to the deadlift are deficit deadlifts. So I actually kept the weight static here. I didn't have to change the bar, which is always good because let's all be honest, that takes a lot of time and effort and ain't nobody got time for that. We did 3 sets of 8 at 405. In this case, I did throw my belt on only because we're doing higher rep work in my opinion, in which case I think a belt is a little bit warranted. And I gotta say, after not using a belt and then going to a belt on some sets, I feel like I get a lot more stability in my core. just because the belt really helps me as a mental cue. It really helps me push out my back, so to say, or my core, expand it, especially in the behind region, if you know what I'm saying, because it's very easy to stick my gut out, so to say, and get tight there. But unless I have something wrapped around my complete waist, sometimes it's hard to get that 360 degrees of pressure. I also did some stiff-legged deadlifts, as you can see here. I actually did 3 sets of 10. You're seeing the very first set here of 225. After this, I bumped up to 275, then 315. Using straps here just because I've already got a ton of grip work in. And in this case, I just want to make sure I'm still hitting the main muscle groups that I'd like to hit, which in this case is my posterior chain. Then finally, after that, we moved on to some incline dumbbell rows. These are 100-pound dumbbells here. We did 3 sets of 10. And I love this exercise. I can't say it enough. If you have the chance to do it, go ahead and give it a shot. I think you'll find that you get a lot better contraction than maybe some bent over rows. So that's gonna do it, and we'll check you with one clip before we leave.
All right, before we end today's video, I want to give a big thanks to Ape Athletics for sending me some of their new t-shirt line. You guys probably actually have seen these already if you watch people like Max Tuning, like I do, because it makes me feel better about my own physique. But Max showed these recently in one of his newest videos, and I want to do the same just to give a big thanks and shout out because I like getting stuff for free. So big thanks to Ape Athletics. These look pretty sick. I specifically like that camo blue design on black right there. I will link them in the description box if you happen to give a fuck. So you'll probably see me rocking these in some upcoming videos. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.